looking forward to this. It's been a minute since we've gotten together.
It has. Those sauerkraut dogs are the last go around.
I think I'm still tasting it.
It's good. It's good.
It was a good hot dog.
It was a good hot dog.
So I've heard about this spot out here on St. Helena, little Hispanic place, kind of a hole in the wall, if you will, grocery store, and behind it they've got some good authentic food, ethnic food.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about tacos and some other stuff for a while.
Oh, I love that idea. I like tacos a lot, and obviously the go-to to get a taco is a traditional Spanish restaurant.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you hear about these small hole-in-the-wall places, or like you said, an actual, like a Hispanic grocery store.
Right.
They're selling stuff in the back room. You just got a sneaky suspicion it's going to be something authentic.
Yeah, for sure.
Authentico, Sean. Muy authentico.
That's it.
That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've tried birria, which I know I'm not saying that right. I can't roll my R's. But we'll see what they've got, what's new, what I can get my hands on.
Nice. Well, I'm pretty excited because I had like a weird suspicion we were going to have potato chips today.
Why is that?
Seems like you've been doing a lot of potato chips.
I have been. You know what? Oh, man, it's funny you say. You've been sitting on that one. Kelly, I picked up some other chips, and Kelly was like, man, you got to stop with the chips, bro. I said, but they do well.
Right.
People like reviewing chips.
Yeah. So now you're the reluctant chippy.
I mean, whenever it gets to views.
Well, look, you're bringing out some potato chips that I've personally never seen. So when you pop out some of those, it's fun to see you try them first.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I know there's some that I wouldn't even dare try either. And I'm not very reluctant. I like potato chips. But the flavors you're trying, I might check out later.
You have to. I don't want to be known as the chip guy, so more authentic stuff, more local cuisine.
Yeah.
Anybody wanting to come to the area, I'm going to start trying to do just food in general that I've never had.
Awesome. Well, we'll see what this turns out to be today. I'm excited to see if there's something a little not traditional for me, but traditional for Spanish culture.
Gotta be, for sure. I'm excited. All right, let's do it. All right, so we got cow tongue. What the lengua? I think is what it's pronounced.
Lengua makes sense. Tongue, speaking.
Yeah.
Language.
And you've never had this.
I have not. I've not had this. I'm not opposed to trying something a little unorthodox, but cow tongue isn't my go-to whenever I go to the typical Spanish restaurant. So this is cool that we have a new option.
And we got some rice. And then we got some darker kind of a bean. Yeah,
black bean frijoles. And I love that the rice has a nice vegetable medley mix.
It does. Little corn, little green bean, and carrot.
Yeah, this has a very homemade, home-cooked feel to it.
Especially when you walked in. I mean, literally right out the gate, you were like, oh, I like the vibe of this already.
Yeah, definitely.
So, a couple things. We're gonna eat. We're gonna talk about the food, but I also want to talk about what we're driving in today, which is 1970.
1970 VW bus.
Yeah.
Westphalia,
which little play on words on the outside.
Which is why we get to sit in here and eat, because it is a traditional camper bus that has a bed and a refrigerator, a sink, and a dinette.
Yeah, that's
table for us to have lunch at today.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
If I could do my Johnny Carson voice, I would say that.
That's the one.
I did not know that. All right, so let's. So I'm assuming we just need to do lime.
Sure.
All the way. So we'll go ahead and
douse it over.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with a little lime.
So we got lime, cilantro, onion.
Yeah, a little white onion.
White onion, and then cow tongue. And I'm assuming this is cooked cooked down in a pot with some flavoring.
Yeah.
And some spices or whatever.
And we're in with a traditional corn tortilla.
Yeah, as opposed to
a flour or something like that. Ooh. So I like that a lot.
I have a feeling this is going to be pretty bomb.
Let's give her a shot. All right. Yeah. Well, cheers for the tacos.
Yep.
Well,
it's a little muted flavor.
Yeah. Technically, it is beef, Sean.
Understood.
But it does have almost a pot roast.
It does.
Type of a pot roast aftertaste. The texture is really nice. I love that it's shredded. I would imagine that it comes in many ways, shredded or cubed or sliced. But I think the shredded texture goes really well.
Yeah, it's hard, when you think about it being tongue, I just visualize big old cow tongue.
Yeah.
Hanging out.
I think I'll try a little bit of their beans.
Yeah.
Along with a little bit of that rice.
Yeah, let me jump on that.
I'm actually a big fan of beans. I love beans and rice.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I would eat it with every meal.
Yeah.
It's got a really, really good flavor. Now, what I like about these particular beans is I like the darker bean, but I like that this isn't like, the texture isn't so mushy. It's the bean itself actually is still relatively firm.
Yeah, it's a nice combination, and it's not too mushy.
Right.
Like you would find at a typical Spanish American.
Now, I may be breaking some rules here, but I'm gonna put some of the black bean on my taco.
A little saucy.
Black beans make everything better.
I'm gonna jump on that. So when I'm at home and I eat tacos, of course, it's a corn tortilla with shredded with ground beef.
Sure.
American cheese.
Yeah, I've heard of those tacos.
Yeah. No, pretty famous here. But I'll eat that with a little bit of refried beans on the bottom.
Okay.
But typically not soft. Soft is not my go-to.
You can't go wrong with tacos in general. Whether it's beef or pork or chicken.
Yeah.
There's lots of options. But it can become pretty bland when you're just dealing with a traditional flour tortilla and just a ground beef with some generic seasoning. So I think, whether you're kind of doing your own, grilling a steak and slicing it up and, and getting in there with lots of seasonings and building your own season base, it's just going to make such a better taco versus a very bland generic taco that, here in the States, that's pretty much what everyone does as a go-to. And I think it's just out of convenience, honestly.
Oh, I think it is too.
But you can't beat an experience like this. This literally feels like I'm traveling somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm not here in Beaufort. I'm in a small roadside stand getting a taco that somebody's grandmother just made.
And literally, somebody's grandmother did make it.
I believe that was somebody's grandmother.
That rice is phenomenal. It is very flavorful.
I have not tried it.
It is.
Give it a shot.
Delicious. Isn't that good?
Man, again, this is rice that my grandmother would have made.
Solid.
It's not overdone.
I would not expect that.
It's not over seasoned
to come out. Cameraman gets
it's not overdone. It's not over seasoned. The rice isn't mushy. Sometimes if rice sits for a long time, as it sits, the longer it sits, it starts to get sticky.
Yeah, definitely. No, none of that.
But this is still fluffy rice.
I like the vegetable medley in there. It's a nice.
I would say they made this with some sort of a broth, a stock or something.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Because it just has just a really nice subtle flavor to it, and it goes good with the tacos.
It does. So tell me a little bit more about the bus.
So, like you mentioned, it is a 1970 Westphalia camper bus. My wife Julie and I, we found this bus years ago back in, I believe it was 2014. We found this bus.
Was this the green bus?
It was. So this bus was dark green. We bought it out of Georgia. Yeah, that was the one. So we jokingly called it the pickle.
And I know it's 2014 because I just left Sonic Drive-In. I started working for you at the other location. I had a printer issue or a cutter issue, and I called you as you were coming back with it.
That's right. Yeah, so we found this bus up in Jasper, Georgia. It was for sale at a little VW shop. They were consigning it for somebody. And Julie and I drove about 5.5 hours up there late one day, bought the bus, and headed back home. About Macon, Georgia, halfway back, realized that it was having some mechanical failures, left us on the side of the road, and ended up camping in the bus at a gas station that night. The next morning, got it fixed, headed back home. And at that point, we decided to do a full tear down and basically did a bare metal up restoration. And at the time, we were really into camping, vintage campers. We were also into Volkswagens, so the two worlds colliding really made sense.
Yeah,
and,
it does.
So we enjoyed it, several car shows, and it was a feature vehicle for Hot VW's magazine in 2015, which was really cool. That was a cool experience.
That's huge.
It really, really cool. And so it's been a great bus. It's sold it shortly after building it to a friend, and years later it ended up making its way back to Buford.
Well, VW, why? I mean, I've known you 28 years. Always been VWs. When did that passion or that love start? And why?
Well, growing up, my dad owned a body shop, built classic cars, and he always told stories of when we were kids and before we were kids, how they drove Volkswagens. And back in the 70s, Volkswagen was a very cheap option as a hobby car. And it was probably one of the most affordable cars you could build a custom car out of.
Right.
And he had several over the years. So growing up, especially a kid in the 80s, mini trucking and Volkswagens and SoCal, Beetles were just, that was the thing that caught my eye. Always wanted one. And it wasn't until I was probably 20 that we got our hands on one. And Jill and I have been together over 30 years, and it seems like we've always owned a VW at some point or another.
A handful. Very rarely are you just owning one VW at a time.
Well, the good rule of thumb with Volkswagens is if you love Volkswagens, you need two. One to drive while the other one's broke.
Yeah.
So
that tracks. 100%.
It's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Now, before we get too sidetracked from the tacos, did you try?
I did. I love it.
Okay.
I am starting to learn sauce is around for a reason.
Sure. Salsa Verde is very good. It's got a little bit of spice to it.
It does. It wasn't bad.
I know only recently you've been getting into more spices.
I have. And it's it's not overbearing. It's not overpowerful. It's not burning me, and I'm not dying of the heat from it. But it's good. And the lime itself, I can actually taste the lime that's mixed in with it.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate what that brings to the food. So I am sad that it's taken me this long to actually enjoy food. But I'm excited at the same time because I get to try everything now as an adult.
Yeah.
And experience it for the first time as as an adult.
And I think there's a lot to that. As a child, we've got a very immature palate, which you've had for well into adulthood.
Yeah.
But
last year,
you get to try things now with just you're getting a little more brave, which is really cool because, like I said, if you were even younger, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 30 years ago, you may have still leaned away from certain things as a young adult. So now you're kind of diving in head first. So you're getting to experience a lot of really cool firsts.
I am. And I've always said this, even in the restaurant business, that eating is an emotional experience. It doesn't matter where you go.
Right.
But now food has always just been fuel for me. It's never been a reason for a destination. It's never been a thought process when I get to a destination. Now that's all changed.
Right. Well, it's a cultural experience.
It is.
So today we get to mix up Spanish culture along with a German eating facility. This is quite the mix.
It is. I love it. Yeah. All right. Well, this has been fun.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it. I know we've known each other a long time. Definitely don't see each other, even though we live in the same town.
Right.
We don't cross paths hardly ever.
Well, I'm rarely out shopping for potato chips, so
I've got plenty of chips.
It would make sense that we wouldn't run into each other that often.
If you need to find me, I'm in the chip aisle of your favorite local grocer. All right. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Right on.
Thanks.